And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We thank you for joining us. Let's start off the day with R&R. R&R, good morning.
Good morning, Millie. Great weekend for all kinds of positive things, and then, of course, some negatives. But so I was hoping perhaps you were considering a fraternal order of curmudgeons. I myself am a curmudgeon, especially this time of year. So
why this time of year, R&R?
Oh, the change of weather and the long periods of darkness. It's just a great time to read book and do some practice in the music and to write letters to some of my beautiful grandchildren. But
R&R, you sound like you're not awake this morning.
Well, here's a thought. My heart's heavy when you think about what happened just recently in Pittsburgh, but my heart is full of respect for a human known as Brad Little, and also for the neighboring state that just approved marijuana in Ontario. We got to make a stand with Mr. Dewey. Mr. Bueller. So when we elect a governor, just don't let Idaho stand by itself. We got to have a new governor over in Oregon. And one last thing, on about 6:20 p.m. to about 6:28 on Friday, when the president of the United States was down in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right.
If Ray could play those moments of his speech, that was just phenomenal. Anybody that doesn't understand President Trump and what he cares about America, those were moments that were just epic.
Right.
And thank you very much for your voice of reason and getting up early and being the man that you are. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And, I suppose we should start with what happened in Pittsburgh over the weekend. The people of Pittsburgh are a hearty group of individuals. I would know. I worked in Pittsburgh. I was part of that community, and some would say that community ran me out. There's a bunch of people there that are very unique. I heard Bill Cowher, who used to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers, talking about being a Burger or a Yinzer. And it's amazing when I see so many people that are Pittsburgh Steelers fans. They truly are the nation's team. And what happened in Pittsburgh is horrific. But it shows you that terrorism can happen anywhere, unfortunately. It shows you the evilness, and people are talking about people being anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish, destroying people's lives. We've seen this. We've seen it with the radicals radicalized Muslims trying to blow people up in Boston, blowing people up in Boston. We've seen it with Timothy McVeigh, and now we see it in Pittsburgh. And at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, this is not an easy topic to discuss, but it really plays into a narrative. And I'm watching This Week with Martha Raddatz, and they've got two baby council members on that were probably kids when I did radio in Pittsburgh. If you don't know, I worked at a radio station in Pittsburgh before I came here, and it was some of the most trying, rewarding, contentious times of my life. I could never question the people of Pittsburgh like I would never question the people of Idaho. They love their community. They live for their community. And, the mayor of Pittsburgh, Bill Peduto, I know him, a buddy of mine. At the time, no one would talk to him except one guy, me. And this isn't about me. This is about America. And I think, sadly, when we take a look at what happened in Pittsburgh, I was sitting there watching some city councilmen being interviewed, and everybody's saying, well, this is, what are we going to do? How in the world are you going to stop people from attacking houses of worship? We have seen it in the Treasure Valley, although they don't talk about it, and rightly so. We've seen it in other places where people carry weapons, where we sit back and we carry weapons, and we protect ourselves. Is it a point in America today at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, where we feel the need to carry a weapon? Now, Bill Peduto, again, you don't know Bill Peduto from whomever else. He's the mayor of Pittsburgh. And like I said, it's an amazing story. The guy was shunned by many people back and forth, and now he's the mayor of Pittsburgh. Now he's a liberal like everybody else. And he was asked by Chuck Todd, would he want the president to come to town?
Pittsburgh, would you like to see him attend a vigil event?
That's really up to the families themselves. We're going to be working together as we have. We've had good cooperation from the state and the governor. This is a conservative synagogue, so the funerals will be very quickly, as soon as tomorrow. So that's really up to the families and whether they would want the president to be here.
Mayor Bill Peduto.
There you have it. The discussion of what happened in Pittsburgh. Could it happen here? You have the Boise synagogues having a memorial service, a prayer service. But I was struck by the comments of the city council members in Squirrel Hill. Lots of neighborhoods in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's about 1.5, 1.8 million people. It's about the size of the state of Idaho. Predominantly Catholics, very ethnic from the old steel mill days. Now it's high tech. And I, sitting there watching these folks going back and forth, saying that, echoing the comments of the Parkland kids. Well, people didn't do anything. We need to do something. We need to stop this. And I'm thinking you have a guy who hates Jewish people, who obviously has some mental issues, who will get the death penalty for this horrific crime. How do you stop someone who is mentally challenged? In the old days, we would call them crazy. How do you stop crazy? Do you limit speech? And you have people now saying that the president is to blame. President Trump is a good man. Like all good men and good women and good people, he's flawed, just like me, just like everyone else. And again, I love people that actually work for a living. There's a guy, Sam, from Diamond Heating and Air Conditioning. He came out, and he and another guy worked on they put in a new heater in my place. Those guys worked from 9 a.m. to like 6 a.m. They got a break for a hot dog. To me, that's working, right? And to everybody that does physical labor, any type of work, God bless you, thank you. My type of work is I'm watching the Sunday shows before I go to church. And there you have George Stephanopoulos trying to make the president look bad, saying the first thing the president said was arming security guards. And you had a member of the president's staff, who used to be on the president's staff, correcting George Stephanopoulos and saying, no, George, that's a false narrative. The first thing the president said was his thoughts and prayers go out to the families that were impacted. The first thing he said was the right thing, but the major press would never give the president his due. And that is sad. And now you have people trying to condemn the president of the United States. You have people saying that the president and his rhetoric is responsible. I don't know about you, but I didn't see the president attacking people in a restaurant or of that nature, or of saying we're going to take to the streets or kick them or any type of other things that Eric Holder and others have been urging people to do. Then you have the apprehension, as you first heard on KIDO Talk Radio, of the crazy bomber who, he's out of central casting. Well, he likes Donald Trump and he hates his enemies. And people blaming Donald Trump for that. I sit back and I think to myself, isn't it time for reflection and prayer? And isn't it time that instead of trying to blame people and silence people, which in my opinion, that's what people are trying to do, to use this tragedy to silence you, to silence me, to silence the administration, and then to sit back and take away your right to keep and bear arms. There are millions of people that carry guns in this country, people that do it so equitably and honorably. And it scares me when all of a sudden I start hearing people say, well, we've got to tone down the rhetoric. Have you noticed during the age of Obama and Bush, the rhetoric was one side. It was against the Republicans. And then people saying, well, we have to do something about weapons and such. But what would you do? How do you stop it? Right?
Morning, Joe. Ivanka Trump looks to credit the White House for lowering the flag to half staff.
Good Lord.
As if that should be in question. Like if your biggest accomplishment of the day is to get the White House to do something it should have done and does do for history at times, you really need to rethink your role here. I'm thinking this is bad for your brand. I'm thinking this is bad for your reputation.
Right.
I'm thinking that history is going to look at your brand terribly. So I know you don't care about the country. And
by the way, this is the press saying that Ivanka Trump, President Trump, they don't care about the country. Now, unlike most people in politics, these folks have a life. They could be doing other things and living under less scrutiny and making more money. But they chose to serve the public, and this is what they get.
I know you don't care about us and our lives. I know you don't because I reached out to you and you didn't write back.
All right.
But if you care about your brand, bad for your brand.
There we have it, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, I do want to hear from you concerning this tragedy in Pittsburgh and your thoughts on preventing this. And you're going to have the faux sympathy, the faux outrage, but this is where your place is to be heard. This is where we want to sit back and talk. By the way, we have people blaming Fox News. We have people blaming President Trump, talk radio, probably, and Sean Hannity. CNN tried to sit back and blame Sean Hannity for the bomber. It is crazy. And here we have ABC News saying Donald Trump at the center of all political violence right now. We've got to sit back and think to ourselves, this is why the midterms matter. And whatever happened to the idea that you can say whatever you want in America? You can say whatever you want in America, and you should have the freedom to do that. By the way, the caravan is still rolling. We'll have the latest. There is some great news today. We'll tell you about that as well. Thank you for starting your day with us. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
You can follow us on Facebook. You can go to our Instagram page or Twitter. And we put a lot of what we're doing out there for people to see. But we don't have a lot of local media on our side. You know, a lot of them are Republican owned. So their media will go towards who they think are paying attention. And they think Republican older men are paying attention, not the rest of us. So they're not writing in our favor, which means we have to work harder. We got to do more. You can follow us on.
There we have it. Paulette Jordan getting ready for her final swan song tonight at Channel 7 with Brad Little. With all due respect, Paulette Jordan doesn't know what she's talking about. She has no idea what she's talking about. And no one else in the local media will call her out. I will. You know, Ray Amaya has been working since Paulette Jordan declared her candidacy to get her on. We don't get a response from the Jordan campaign, and that's great because Paulette sees there's no advantage. We're not going to give her the softballs. We're going to say, look, how can we take you seriously? With all due respect, what is your work-life experience? Number one. Number two, have you mastered the idea that Brad Little isn't your predecessor? See, if a Republican had said that, they would say, well, he's not your predecessor. That's a misuse of words. And the idea that no one is an Idahoan but her is totally irresponsible. And I love this. at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The only thing she didn't put in was white, but Republican older men. That's ageism, madam. And by the way, it shows your ignorance of the topic. The broadcast companies in this town, like in every town, are publicly traded. They're owned by shareholders across the country and in the Treasure Valley. To say that is pandering and shows, again, madam, your ignorance of what you're talking about. I don't know why, other than I don't like Republicans. People would vote for you, in my own personal opinion. Traffic and weather together.
7's Eric Gabbard.
And we go to Parma. Doug joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Well, good morning, Kevin. I was going to comment on the caravan that's coming up. The last I heard that the illegals were costing the taxpayers $359 billion a year. Still there?
Yeah, no, I'm listening, Doug.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. And $359 billion would certainly build the wall. Also. And a little other thing is, I was in Texas building custom homes back in '85 when they did the amnesty down there. And it pretty much destroyed the construction industry. You couldn't buy a job after that. So they think they're coming up here to mow lawns or something like that. No, they get into the construction field and just lowball everybody, and then the average person that's making a living, paying taxes, just can't make it against that type of stuff that's going on.
No, and that's underreported. You look at a buddy of mine who was a bricklayer in of all places, Pittsburgh, and the illegals came in there, and you thought that the unions would save them. The illegals joined the unions because the unions wanted the membership, and if the unions aren't even going to stand up for their own workers, their own countrymen, then you got big problems. And you got big problems there. And the bricklaying guy was almost wiped out. They come in, they take over the construction. Look, here's another one at NC State University, Carter Finley Stadium, 70,000 seat stadium. They were. This is so bad it'll make you laugh, Doug. They were building an extension to it, and what happened next? The cops roll in. Half or 2/3 of the workforce ran into the woods.
Of course.
I kid you not.
I know. I see it all a lot. You know, and I live in farm country, which the farmers are having a hard time finding help right now, but they're paying better wages, too. It's just, I don't know if people don't want to work. But the illegals are not the answer to our workforce. We've got, 40 or 50 million people that are on the government tit right now. Once we can get those people back to work, we don't need illegals.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Doug, thank you for the call and for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
Yeah. Well, just kind of remind everybody what the cost of illegals is costing American citizens.
Well, look. No, Doug, you're right about that. Let me put it to you this way. And we've had people, and I can't disclose so much, that have tried to get this show taken off the air because we go to FAIR every year, and we'll break down the cost, and FAIR pays for our trip. And we'll break down the cost of health care, education, criminal justice system, and everything else. And that's hitting too close to home to the powers that be. And I can say this without a doubt in my mind. My supervisor, his supervisors in the corporate office have been contacted about this show, trying to take it off the air.
That's not right. The people should now realize what the cost is. But thanks for the call. Thanks for taking my call, Captain.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you. And, I don't joke about this. This happened to me in Pittsburgh with President Obama, at the time, candidate Obama. And when you start getting close to the truth, it's time to go. And for me, this is my home. This is my livelihood. And this is where I want to be. And I hope to be with you and Ray Amaya for many more years. But people get serious. And the left doesn't tolerate people that tell the truth and break down the cost of illegal immigration. When you're talking about people in schools, who picks up the slack for that? Who picks up the slack for people coming in They can't speak the language. They're not here illegally. The schools, it's funny, if you go to a school, you have to prove that you're a resident of that district, but people can come to this country. I guess you got to chuckle about it. And it's not a laughing matter, and they can get a free education. Well, it's not free. We pay for it. Number one. Number two, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You take a look at the medical. You go to the emergency room. It isn't Timmy or Billy or Willie that are paying their deductibles that are putting up the cost of health care. It's people coming in with no insurance here illegally. You pay them. They don't pay it back. Is that vilifying them? That's telling the truth. And we still don't build a wall. We still haven't had, here's the thing. You want to stop the major problems in America today. It's very simple. Drugs. Drug test for everybody. Drug test for everybody. You want to drive a truck? You want to work in a paint store? You get a drug test. You want to stop people working here, coming here illegally? E-Verify. It's done. You take away the incentives. More on that in a minute. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And coming up, we'll get your reaction again to the synagogue shooting, the bomber being apprehended, and the issues that matter to you today. The place to be heard, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But a big debate tonight between Paulette Jordan and Brad Little. Looks like that's going to wrap up fairly soon. And Paulette Jordan pulling no punches, saying that the media is against her.
You can follow us on Facebook. You can go to our Instagram page or Twitter, and we put a lot of what we're doing out there for people to see. But we don't have a lot of local media on our side. A lot of them are...
the media is not supposed to be on your side. The media is supposed to report the news. So you've got this confusing, and we're being very generous here, confusing campaign stuff. You've raised $1 million, and what have you done with it? By the way, props to the Idaho Republican Party for this video, and you can watch it on their website. Let's continue on.
Republican owned. So their media will go towards who they...
That's right. Channel 7, Channel 2, Channel 6, all the irrelevant music stations, every media station is owned by the Republicans. And the Republicans decide that Paulette Jordan will not run commercials, radio commercials, television commercials, any commercials. It's the Republicans that decide that. I don't know which is more disturbing, Paulette Jordan saying this or people that actually believe her.
They think are paying attention. And they think Republican older men are paying attention, not the rest of us. So they're not writing in our favor, which means we have to work harder. We got to do more.
Exactly. Because the media is supposed to be on your side. See President Obama. Let's go to Pete in Boise on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you?
I thought of you this morning as I was driving by Merritt's and going, I wonder if he had anybody meet him the other day when he was once again saying that Paulette Jordan was going to win.
Apparently you have a surprising number of listeners. I was there from 1 till 4:06, 3 hours and 6 minutes. 0 people showed up, to be honest with you.
Well, apparently your offer must not be compelling. Don't blame the messenger. Perhaps it's the message.
Well, I hear that a number of people call in to you wanting part of this $68,000.
Well, no, it's no, but you know something, and this is kind of a good joke, but it's not really my place to be Jimmy the Greek with you.
Will you have money for steak and eggs at Merritt's?
You know something, I look forward to that. You're right about that, sir. One way or the other, you are correct.
I'm pleased that we're only 7 days away from the election. This has been very long, and Paulette Jordan has been battling it out since she announced December 7th of last year. So how she continues on, she's made of tough stuff. I always have to add humor to anything. So last week I had purchased a bright red Siamese fighting fish and took it down to Paulette Jordan's headquarters, and I came up with a little label. Its name is Brad, and the little canister of food is Brad's food, and the instructions for feeding Brad only give Brad 3 pellets a day. In parentheses, it says he is little with a capital L.
You must write your own material.
I think that's obvious.
but really, it's going to not end well for her. It's going to be a 70-30 Brad Little romp.
I'm looking for 70-30 the other way. But
hold on, 70-30 Paulette Jordan beats Brad Little.
Or higher.
Now, Pete, unlike everybody else, I'd like you to back that up with any type of facts. She's not spending money on TV. She's not spending money on radio. I don't know what she's spending her campaign money on except making these ridiculous statements that the media is owned by Republicans.
Well, what she spends her money on Cinco de Mayo, she was actually in Rigby, Idaho, chatting with Mormon farmers predominantly. She's out meeting and greeting people in small groups, and she's a formidable candidate. Have you met her?
No, we have sent an invitation to her since she declared in December. But it's kind of tough to figure out who to send the invitation to because so many people have quit her campaign. I don't know who's even running it.
Well, I made a mistake. I gave Paulette my home phone number, and almost every morning at 3 or 4 in the morning, I get this plaintive call from her asking me to become her campaign manager. And I love you dearly, Paulette, but that's a very short-term kind of position. I do have a question for you, Mr. Miller. You asked me last time why I thought Paulette would win, and I told you, I shared that with you. Why do you think Brad Little will win?
Well, it's very easy. It's very easy. As someone who, as a little boy, and even to this day, I love politics. And I love the trail and the campaign. Brad Little went up against Congressman Labrador. Now, Congressman Labrador didn't have the money, but he had the organization. He had the momentum. And Congressman Labrador, and let me just finish if I could, Pete. It'll take me a minute. Congressman Labrador admitted on this program he didn't work hard enough. He should have worked harder. The negative ads hit him, but, that was a brilliant move by the Little campaign to come up with that stuff. The last 2 weeks, they couldn't respond. Tommy Ahlquist, Dr. Ahlquist, touchdown Tommy. I don't know if he's still at the Red Sox game or not. Had more money. He worked just as hard, if not harder, than Brad Little. And he couldn't make it happen. And we're talking about bombarding of ads and negative ads and positive ads and reaching out to the millennials. And people say, well, Brad Little won because the conservatives split the vote. Doesn't matter. Brad Little came in, and not only did he have the Brad Little campaign, he had the realtors, he had the business people, he had the farmers, he had the ranchers. So even if Brad Little didn't do anything, and I'll get to his work ethic in a minute, you had frequency bombarding. The message kept resonating, Brad Little, Brad Little, Brad Little. And the guy works hard. Many years ago, we would go to Thomas Hammer, and this was the beginning of going out in the show, and I would be there, and we would open up early, and they're running by at 6 in the morning. Brad Little. He's hit the road. He's done it. Never mind the legacy with the Otters. If he can withstand the competitiveness of that primary with Dr. Ahlquist, Congressman Labrador, I don't see somebody, as you may say, she's a nice lady, I guess, running around making goofy statements, calling Brad Little her predecessor, saying the media is Republican-owned, having any chance. That's why I think Brad Little is going to romp with 70% of the vote.
you mentioned the Otter legacy. After 12 years of Otter-Little, we're 50th in the nation as far as wages. Number one as far as people who have to work 2 or more jobs to stay afloat. We're very near the bottom of the 50 states in per capita spending for education. I fail to see how somebody would want 4 more years of that.
When you see all the people moving in, when you see wages going up, when you see the home prices going up, when you see the efforts in education, and it's not my point to defend Brad Little. He has a lot of great people to do that. It's a wonderful family. I'm just saying that Paulette Jordan didn't make the case. And Paulette Jordan could have used some of the same issues that Congressman Labrador and Dr. Ahlquist did, but instead she got on this weirdo kick, in my opinion, about the land and this and that. There was a playbook that would have resonated with a lot of perhaps disenfranchised Labrador people and Dr. Ahlquist people. She failed to grasp it because she was busy allegedly shooting movies in California and doing talk show hosts on CNN as far as going on talk shows and such, doing those shows. See, what I've learned from Idaho, and I tell my friends nationally about this, you have to be with the people and not just, I love the people. It's not fancy airplanes. It's not this or that. It's get in your car and go shake their hand. Brad Little has done that. You can't take that away from him. She, in my opinion, Pete, and I want your rebuttal on this, and then we're going to go on to Security Guard Mike. I can't find her relatable. Now, if you're down with America's bad, Idaho's bad, we're going to change, Obama made the case for that. Jordan has not. Your thoughts?
She has an even stronger work ethic than Brad Little. She told me once that she gets up at 4 a.m.
Well, I heard she was getting up at. I heard she was getting up at 3, calling you to be her campaign manager.
You have my promise that I will call in if I'm sober enough to operate a phone on November 7th.
Sure.
So we can make plans for you
breakfast,
to take me for to lunch for at Merritt's. But she does resonate with the people. She does go out and shake their hands and kiss babies and do all that.
Well, here's the other one. How would a Democrat work with a supermajority in the House and the Senate? By attacking them? Ain't going to happen.
I think we'll see a sea change in the Idaho House and Legislature. If A.J. Belukoff had gotten the nomination, his coattails would not have been long. In fact, he wasn't even wearing a coat. I think we'll see a sea change in the Idaho State Legislature.
Pete, we appreciate the call. Thank you. A spirited debate, and speaking of the spirit of this program, Security Guard Mike on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin Miller, how are you doing this morning? Just wanted to give you a call and tell you on this Paulette Jordan thing, she has handlers and all that stuff, and they tell her what, this, that, and the other thing. But if I was Paulette Jordan, I would say, look, handlers, get me on every radio show in Boise, in Idaho, period. Every show, especially yours. Yours is, how else is she going to get her message across to anybody who's on the other side to get them to cross over? She's not. So I'm telling you that she blew it. She had an opportunity to come on your show. I don't think you would charge her anything. You just give her free airtime, let her talk.
Here's the deal hold on, Security Guard Mike. Let me just say this real quick. She chose what to do. She made bad calls. And I will tell you, when you see Paulette Jordan around town, she was in this building. She had 6 handlers, and she went on the Goofy station, which are several in this building. And they made a bunch of jokes. It was so bad they didn't even put it on the air. And, and that's fine. You want to be an entertainer. That's great. But I don't know about you. You've seen Brad Little. He doesn't have handlers. And if he does, they're away from him. But he takes
care of his own business. He's his own man. She needs to be her own woman and not her own. That's why she didn't resonate. She doesn't resonate with the people of Idaho too well because she's not her own person. If she was her own person, she'd be calling her own shots. And then, hey, handlers, I want on this show, I want that show, I want that show, and I'm going to talk my piece. And if they vote for me, they vote for me. If they don't, they don't.
Security Guard Mike, we've changed our philosophy here. And let me put it to you this way. During the primary, we had everybody on. Ray Amaya was working overtime. Kevin Miller was working overtime because it was that important. And then I thought, instead of doing the job of the people that are hired to do the press for these folks, we're just going to sit back and see who contacts us. There's been one candidate that values this program?
And that be?
Russ Fulcher.
Russell, that's right.
Russ Fulcher.
And that's because he knows where his base is.
But
he knows where his people are.
He does, and he gets it, and I can say that now. Now, that doesn't mean that if, and this is a test, because if they want to know what people are thinking, and if they're up early, or even if they're not, they can listen to the podcast. This is the program where we listen to people. This is the place to be heard, and so far, it's been Russ Fulcher, and that's fine, because some of these folks aren't very entertaining, and in the end, you got to be informative and entertaining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And your show is very entertaining. I love listening to it. I like Liberal Steve, even though he's out there. I still like Liberal Steve. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I may not agree with him, but he's fun to listen to once in a while because he's out there.
Oh, he's out there.
All right. Well, you take care, Kevin Miller. We love you. You have a wonderful day and have a great Monday.
Hey, you have a great day at work, brother.
All right, you too, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Love Security Guard Mike. The world would be so much better if there were more Security Guard Mikes. Pete from Mountain Home, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, I just want to say, first of all, I am not the other Pete. I have nothing to do with him. I disavow any connection whatsoever.
Sure.
I'm calling about the shooting, the horrible murders at the synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir.
And once again, we see a gun-free zone, and I'm sure that's what it was, doing exactly what gun-free zones are designed to do, which is make the honest people defenseless. Because they certainly aren't going to stop a killer. Because, like, the guy's a criminal, right? Why should he worry about a gun-free zone? And what really got me was that one man who was talking about hiding in the dark closet with his old cell phone that didn't light up, and he was glad it didn't light up. And I thought, I want a chance. And for me, I've been carrying a concealed weapon every single day since that Islamic terrorist killing in San Bernardino County, where the two of them went in and shot up the people they worked with.
Right.
And I want at least a chance to be my own first responder. Somebody starts something like that, and you are in that room or that church or wherever, I would much rather have the opportunity to at least fight back than hope that I can crawl under a table or something. And you don't see people doing stuff like that in bars where there's a lot of policemen. They don't do that in gun shows. They don't do that any place where they think somebody is going to fight back because they're cowards. And I don't know, I just want to encourage people, thank God in Idaho, you don't even need a permit now. We're a constitutional carry state. Learn how to use a firearm, learn how to carry it, and be ready to be your first offender.
Pete, great call. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you. Thank you so much. Coming up, Dave Petzel will join us. First, back to your phone calls. Max in Garden City. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Is that Pete in Boise who is so pro Paulette Jordan? I like Pete. Same side to Liberal Steve. He really is. And I love Liberal Steve just because he's so far out there. But I've been looking it over, and Paulette Jordan cannot possibly stand a chance. I don't understand it. It seems like her entire program is in disarray. And if she is actually calling at 3 a.m. for Pete to be her campaign manager, she's in real trouble. She needs to call Liberal Steve to manage her campaign. What do you think? She couldn't be any more in disarray if she can't win the ticket by talking to the people, maybe she can do it by getting extremely wacko, way out in left field. We're talking liberal Steve Wonk. She might get away with it.
Exactly.
No, Idaho politics are a fun thing. They're rather unique. But I'm going to be with you on this one, 70-30, maybe. You know, it's going to be more than 70-30, because I have some friends who are liberal whack jobs, and even they don't like Paulette Jordan.
Thank you, Max.